Hi all. Today I will show you how to install the Windows 95 operating system so that it works in a browser. Windows takes up quite a lot of space on your hard drive. Installing it using the standard bundle technology when all files are included inside the archive is not very efficient. Since the download size will be very large, the user will have to wait a long time for the download. Therefore, in JS-DOS it became possible to use so-called network drive sock drive. They transfer only the necessary files, the necessary sectors of the disk when the program requires them. To make such a disk you need to take some steps, and we will talk about this today. In theory, you don't need to install Windows 95/98 yourself, since JS-DOS already has a set of system images, system drives, in particular Windows. That is, you just need to clone the disk for yourself. It already has a system configured with 3D support and so on. Why is this training video needed? There are rarely cases when you need to install some kind of special system, or you want to try something specific, maybe install another DirectX or some component. In general, this video is for those who need a custom installation of the operating system. Any operating system installation involves the same steps. First, you need to clone, that is, create an empty network drive, then find an image to install the operating system. Then run JS-DOS and install. After this, installation disks will no longer be needed, and you will have an image of the operating system. Let's try to go through these steps together to install Windows 95. Let's start by creating a network drive. A small digression. You can install the operating system in a regular Chrome Firefox browser, or use a special application. It can be downloaded from the DOS's own website. Using the application, you can go through all the installation steps faster because the application has hardware acceleration. But if you don't want to install it for some reason, then you can use a regular browser. Nothing will change. Let's get started. The first thing you need to do is go into the studio. To do this, you just need to write Studio in the search. This is the so-called JS-DOS Studio or DOS zone. It doesn't matter what you call it, it contains nothing. That is, it is intended to create something new. To create an empty bundle into which we will install Windows 95, we will click the Create Empty Bundle button, which literally means to create an empty bundle. It does not contain any files. It only has a standard DOS box configuration that is selected based on the presets. We can choose or write it ourselves. Since DOS box is currently selected as the emulator, we cannot use network drives, and we do not have a network drive icon. If we switch to the Windows 95 configuration, then we will have an icon of network drives. In it we can manage our network drives, and in this case we need to create a new network drive. It should be empty. We need to choose from two empty options of 2 GB in size on the FAT32 system and 256 MB on the FAT16 system. The small disk can be very good for installing small operating systems such as Windows 3.11. Since we are installing Windows 95, we choose a larger disk. To create a copy of an empty disk, click the Fork button. And the name for the new network drive. Click the Fork button. Now it appears in the list of disks. Here he is. Great, we have a new empty disk. Let's download and install the operating system on it. As I already said, we chose a template suitable for Windows 95 and the appropriate configuration was installed in the template. The only problem is that this template already includes a Windows 95 phone disk, and in general it must be used. In our instructions, we want to install a clean new Windows 95, so we will replace the drive with the drive we just created. There is a special button for this that allows you to open all your disks. So the configuration has been applied. Launch JS-DOS. As you can see, there is a message here that the disk is opened in read-only mode. This is because at the beginning, before starting JS-DOS, there is an option to open the disk read-only. If we change it, then write support will be available, but that's not important at this stage. We just want to save our configuration as a JS-DOS bundle. In it we have a network drive selected and other options set. Later we will use it to launch JS-DOS by clicking the disk button and the download bundle button. The bundle has been created. I save it in my downloads folder. Now we can reload the page. Instead of creating an empty bundle, we will use the one we just saved. Select it and enable the write option. By default, this setting is saved in the browser's local storage, so you don't need to switch it every time, but I use a system user and it is always reset to read-only. I will switch it every time. We have enabled write support. Launch JS-DOS. Accordingly, we already have a network drive connected here. Here we see that the network drive is Windows 95 v2. Now we need to boot from the downloaded disk in order to install the system on a new network drive. The JS-DOS documentation has an article on how to boot from an empty disk. This article has a link to a boot disk for DOS 6.22 or maybe up to 7, I don't remember. We will use this network drive to boot into DOS and begin installing Windows. You can use your own file, but this file works well and is tested. I have already downloaded it for myself. We must add this file using the Add File button. Click on the Add File button, select the boot disk, select the file with Windows 95. Now we mount the boot floppy disk in drive A. In drive D we mount the image for installing Windows 95. Now we boot from drive A. So, we booted. Drive C is our empty drive. As you can see, there are no files on it and its size is 2 GB. Drive D is the drive with system files, and drive E is the drive that we connected with Windows 95. Let's start the Windows installation. Now, you need to go through all the Windows installation steps. The computer will periodically reboot. In order for us to continue the installation, we will have to go through the process of connecting the disks again. Now I'll show you. The video will be sped up because the installation process is quite long. Also, the mouse does not work in the installation. We will support it later. Let's install the smallest version of Windows. The name is Windows 95. Here we can choose what we need to install, a calculator, no document templates needed. It is advisable not to install anything unnecessary so that the disk size is as small as possible. We remove disk utilities. Multimedia will most likely be useful to us. In principle, we have chosen to continue the installation. We don't need a boot disk. Files are now being copied. Keep in mind that files are being copied to a remote server. Therefore, you need to wait. The write is buffered, that is, during writing, data accumulates and is sent to the server. The process of copying files goes as if in waves, then quickly, then it freezes, because the actual data is being sent, then quickly again, and so on. Be patient, the program does not freeze, but simply waits for the data to be sent. In any case, if the program freezes, you can reload the page and try again. Then we need to restart the computer. Sometimes, not very often, Windows does not reboot completely and freezes. There is nothing wrong with that. You can just reload the page and select bundle. Our bundle does not change. All files that were installed on the network drive were installed on the server, and the bundle only contains the configuration. Select our bundle and launch it. I forgot to enable disk write. We need to connect the Windows 95 drive because the installation is not yet complete and this disk will be required to continue the installation. The installation floppy disk is no longer needed because drive C has become bootable. We boot only Windows 95, mounted as drive D, boot from drive C. Change the drive letter. There is no drive. What to do? Then cancel the installation. It looks like Windows couldn't find drivers for some devices, but we can install them later. Let's try to continue and see what happens. I choose my time zone. There is no printer, so we cancel its installation. Statistical information about how much data was preloaded should be displayed here, but a negative value is shown. I'll fix it soon. Even without a disk, we managed to install Windows. Let's try installing the drivers. You need to select the installation folder. After installing Windows, you need to configure it optimally for JS-DOS. As you can see, the mouse does not work, so first of all, let's start installing the mouse. There's an article in the documentation where you can see how to configure Windows. I will give the most necessary steps. Firstly, connecting the mouse. You need to download a special driver from DOSBox, which allows you to integrate the mouse into Windows 95. Download. The archive. It's downloading. Let's go back to the documentation. After we have downloaded the archive, we need to unpack it. There are different operating systems. Choose the one that suits you. Not even that, there should be an assembled installation disk here somewhere. Connect our bundle, enable write, and now connect the downloaded disk. We connect as diskette and boot. Next steps: open the control panel, add a device. Select the mouse, select that we have a disk, and select our driver. We select the appropriate version of Windows. Here it is our driver. Now we need to find the already installed standard driver and turn it off. Otherwise the drivers will conflict. Open the System Device Manager. Select a standard mouse and disable the driver. Yes, the mouse is working. Windows is now carrying out additional configuration steps. Great, the next very important step in setting up Windows 95 is to set the optimal settings for the file system. We optimize reading from disk. System Settings, File System, you need to turn off read ahead optimization. It does not speed up, but rather hinders, since JS-DOS has its own caching mechanisms and they are more efficient than what Windows 95 has. We installed the mouse, installed file system optimization. The next very important, but in principle optional step is to install 3DFX drivers. Download the driver and unpack it into a folder. To install it, we must connect this folder to our Windows 95. Select our bundle. Specify the folder with the 3DFX driver. All files are loaded. We mount the current folder as drive D. We boot from drive C. Open drive D. All files are in place. Here we have an unknown device. This is a DirectX card. Let's install a driver for it. I don't see DirectX here. Let's just try to install the driver on the system. Select the driver and click Install. It doesn't seem to have helped much. Okay, let's try to specify the driver manually. Select Update Driver and specify our drive D. Great, it worked. Windows 95 requires its own installation disk. We now have to connect the Windows 95 disk, so we reboot the computer. The 3DFX folder is in place connected. Add a drive with Windows 95 Connect Drive E and boot. Last time we apparently didn't shut down Windows correctly, and now he needs to check the disk. I recommend using the shutdown option instead of rebooting. Let's try again. Select an unknown device. Select the driver. It looks like Windows has started installing something. The mouse works slowly, the system freezes. It looks like he is installing something. "24 MB of data have already been transferred. Let's wait until it finishes its installation." He installed Microsoft Network. I don't know why he did it. It would be better if he installed the drivers. We select an unidentified device, click Update the driver. Indicate our drive D and click Install. Again, indicate drive D. The installation is successful. We have installed the driver. Let's check whether it works or not. Let's look at the devices. So let's run DXDiag on the spot. DirectX is not installed. To check that 3D acceleration works, we need to install DirectX. Let's install DirectX 6.1. We load our bundle, enable write support and connect the folder with DirectX. There are quite a lot of files, you need to wait. Connect the folder as drive D and boot from drive C. Open drive D and start the installation. Let's install newer drivers. There is no need to change the 3DFX driver, it is the latest version. The sound card driver can be updated. So, once installed, you can try installing DirectX 7 on top. It may even work. Let's see if we manage to activate 3D acceleration. Let's boot from drive C. When your system is fully installed and configured, it will start to boot faster and faster because the backend caches the most frequently used disk segments and immediately transfers them when the system starts. This is indicated by this pop-up message. But since we are now performing the installation, the backend cannot generate the correct list of optimally used disk segments. Let's check if DXDiag has appeared. Hooray! We can check if the acceleration works. First display uses the S3 driver and it does not support 3D. Let's check. It works. We are interested in further steps. Display 2 is a 3DFX graphics card and supports 3D acceleration. Let's check that the software rendering works. Now let's check the 3D acceleration. It also works. Great, that is, we installed Windows 95, configured the mouse in it, installed 3DFX drivers, installed and configured DirectX with hardware acceleration. This system is ready to install games and programs. You just need to turn it off. You can make other bundles based on it. Insert games and programs there. You can copy it to a new disk and use it to install something new. You can simply place this bundle on your website and your website will run Windows 95/98. In principle, I think this video sufficiently explains how everything works and how to install the system. But I am interested in adding diamond tools to the system so that I can connect a disk with games. As soon as I do this, we will have a full-fledged image of Windows 95 in which we can mount disk images and install games. Thanks to all.